So I say we just get into it.
Yeah.
What are we getting into?
DB. DBZSGT.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk about Dragon Ball today. Which is, I would say, Dragon Ball is probably like it transcends anime and Japanese media, and it has permeated its way into Western culture so deeply that I think people think about anime and they think about Dragon Ball Z. It's like that is the like poster child for Goku is the poster child for like anime and Japanese media. I think Hello Kitty too. Hello Kitty's kind of everywhere, and she popped up in Japan first. So, but now she's popping up on backpacks and stuff everywhere. And have you seen there are all of these like merch collaborations between the Hello Kitty characters and like other anime? Like I think we've seen merch at like Box Lunch where it's like,
I didn't even know there was other characters. I thought it was just Hello Kitty.
No, Hello Kitty's got a lot of friends.
I don't even know like what even is that? Is that like where did Hello Kitty come from?
I think it's kind of like a Barbie situation. I think she had a show at some point, but like I don't know how Hello Kitty started, honestly. But she's kind of everywhere now, where she has like TV shows and merchandise, and there's a truck back at my old job. I worked at a mall, and every once in a while we would have basically like a merch truck show up and park in the mall, like outside of Macy's for like a single day, like once a month. And it was like a Hello Kitty truck. And so there was all of this merchandise inside that was dedicated specifically to Hello Kitty. They had like macaroons, they had cookies, they also had like water bottles and notebooks and stuff like that. And the line for that thing, because it was like first come first serve. Like if you're not the first one there, you don't always have your pick of merchandise. But yeah, enough about Hello Kitty.
It's got derailed hardcore.
Yeah, derailed hardcore. But yeah, Dragon Ball's been around for a very long time. Like the original manga, I'm pretty sure came out in the 80s, like the late 80s. So as a franchise, it's almost like 40 years old, which is nuts. But we both kind of have different experiences with Dragon Ball, specifically when we were younger. So do you remember anything about Dragon Ball, like when we were kids? Because I don't think you were super into it back then.
No. I was like the only one that just wasn't into it. Everyone I know, was into it. I just took like 15 years to get into it.
I mean, and that's fine. Sometimes it takes people a while.
Like I've known about like a lot of popular scenes about like Krillin dying and Frieza's transformation, because Josh, our other friend Josh,
shout out Josh,
super hardcore. He breeds Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
So like he's showing me scenes and drawings and all that stuff. I don't know. I just didn't have time or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, also it's kind of like a little overwhelming because there's a lot to it, and unlike shows that we watched when we were growing up, like a lot of Western shows didn't follow the format that most anime do, which is the format of you have a character, you have a cast of characters, and then from first episode to last episode, there are like arcs and through lines and like plots that advance every single episode, whereas shows that we watched as a kid, like, SpongeBob SquarePants or like Fairly Odd Parents or Courage the Cowardly Dog, mostly episodic. Like, each story, like every 25 minutes or whatever, was contained in that 25 minutes. And every once in a while, like a character from a previous episode would pop up again. But yeah, but I would say there were shows that I think I might have been more into that you were not, that kind of tailored to that part of storytelling that wasn't super present in the West. And that's shows like Teen Titans, or like Shaolin Showdown. Like both of those shows. You like Shaolin Showdown?
Yo, I was hard on Shaolin Showdown.
Yeah, man. And that was the same thing where like it was kind of episodic, but there were straight up like character arcs that people would go through where like Raymundo, like there was a whole arc where he like was a bad guy and he like went to the dark side, and like, the main cast had to figure. So it was like shows like that where there were like, stories that happened throughout an entire season as opposed to like just one episode. I think watching those helped me get into Dragon Ball like a lot quicker. And at least for me, I talked about this on my I streamed a couple of weeks ago and I talked about Dragon Ball. Specifically the game Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2, which was my first PS2 game ever, and my PS2 was my first like home console ever. So like Dragon Ball made a huge impact with me because I had seen a little bit of it on like Toonami when it was airing, and I'd stayed up a little too late and started watching like the anime, which scared the ever living crap out of me. But yeah, through playing Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 and like pretty much every Dragon Ball game, they retell the story over and over and over again. So like if you're a Dragon Ball fan and you're playing every one of these games, it's kind of annoying. But for me, I got to learn about all of these arcs and shows or parts of the show that I hadn't gotten to see live because gotten to see live because they happened without me. And then the story just continues. Like you can't just drop in on an episode of Dragon Ball Z and know what's going on. So playing the game really helped. And then, when we were kids on Toonami, the arc that they were like dubbing in English at the time was the Majin Buu saga. And to this day, like I know people like to clown on the Majin Buu saga for not being as good as like the Cell saga and the Frieza saga, but I think it's still my favorite purely out of nostalgia, and it introduced a lot of really cool concepts that are still used today, like Super Saiyan 3 and Fusion, both Potara and Fusion Dance, Goten and Trunks, Adult Gohan, like Ultimate Gohan. I don't know, man.
Dude, I was never crazy about the Cell saga.
Really?
Yeah.
I know our friend Josh loves the Cell saga. I think I don't know if he would say it's his favorite, but he's shown us that moment, the father-son Kamehameha at the end of the Cell saga like so many times. But I mean it's a good saga. I think I like the Android saga a little bit. Seeing Cell pretty much be a horror villain is kind of cool. Just going around sucking people's life out of them and then it's just like bags of skin are left on the pavement.
Yeah, but I mean, like once they got to the actual Cell games,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, the Cell games. I'm not gonna say that they're boring, but they do kind of just stay there for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it starts to ramp up towards the end. So I don't know. I still to this day like I love the Dragon Ball franchise, and I haven't seen every bit of it. I've mostly only seen Z. I've watched Dragon Ball Z Kai and then all of Super. I've never seen GT, which you definitely have. Yeah.
Don't bother.
Yeah, I would say that not even a whole lot of concepts from GT are still prevalent today, except for Super Saiyan 4. Like Super Saiyan 4 is probably the only thing that you really need to take away from GT, and that's not even considered like canon anymore. But Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, the Monkey Man himself.
Yeah, all 3 minutes he was there.
Yeah, solid. That's typically how fusions go, is like they show up for very little screen time, and then they become fan favorites, and then they're plastered everywhere. Yeah, and then the original Dragon Ball, I've only seen clips from. It seems like tonally like very different. Like it's an adventure anime, but it's also like kind of slower paced because there are scenes where like, Goku and Krillin as kids are training with Master Roshi on, at the Kame house, and they're like running bottles of milk up and down the beach, and it's like the actual like arcs in original Dragon Ball, I would say with my very limited knowledge, aren't as exciting as the arcs in like the future shows, but I guess that was kind of the point, like it wasn't supposed to be this big grandiose thing. It was just supposed to be a fun, lighthearted adventure anime and manga. So and then there's Super, and Super came out in our prime. Like I forget when the year Super came out. I think it might have been like 2016, like 6 years ago. But yeah, I was very hesitant to start watching Super because that had come out at a point where I kind of had like fallen off a little bit. Like I still appreciated Dragon Ball, but like I wasn't watching anime. I wasn't really watching cartoons at all. Like I wasn't watching a whole, like the TV I was watching was like The Office, like Parks and Rec, like How I Met Your Mother, like adult shows. And in 2013, a couple years before Super had come out, Battle of Gods came out, like the movie. And I had a friend group in high school that wanted to go see it. And I was like, yeah, I'll go see it. I like Dragon Ball. I played Budokai 2 a lot. And I had, I had seen a couple of the movies like since then, but this was a new movie and it was a big deal. And I remember walking out of the theater and I was like, yeah, that was fun. And I wasn't like blown away or anything. And same thing with like Resurrection F. I wasn't like blown away, but I went to go see it. And it wasn't until I downloaded Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle in like 2016 that it really started to like settle in for me. Like, oh, this is a franchise that I really, really like. Cause like the more you interact with those characters in that world and like, again, on stream, I was saying about how I play Dokkan pretty much every day. So like Dragon Ball Z is literally part of my like everyday life. And then shortly around that time,
you know what's messed up?
What's messed up?
Last night, I literally had a dream where I pulled the Monkey Men.
Oh, dude. Yeah, for the 7th anniversary, they're coming out with a unit that's Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta. And David and I mean, we've known about these units since January. And so like our version of the game is 6 months behind the Japanese version. So they'll get stuff for their anniversaries and things that we'll know, oh, our anniversary is 6 months from now. We'll know that these are the characters that we want, and then we save up for them. It's not far away. Like we have like a month and a half before those units drop.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah. But around the time that I started playing Dokkan again, was when I started getting really into Dragon Ball. And then it was like after I graduated, like after, college, like 2018, that's when I think you were finally like, we were talking about Dragon Ball. We were coming out of the city too. I don't know what we went to go see or what we went to go do. But I had mentioned Dragon Ball Super Broly to you as like a place to start. And then I think that's when we made the decision to watch Broly together. So like, tell me what was going on in your head, like when we were talking about that.
Dude, I'm so new to Dragon Ball that I debated just playing the Kakarot game instead of watching the show. That's how new I am.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Because you were like, you always played Dokkan, right?
Yeah.
I heard the soundtracks, and I was just thinking about it like, man, everyone's into this series except me.
Mm.
And then, randomly, I was just like, you know what? Tell me the entire storyline right now.
Yeah.
For like a half hour, you're just explaining what happens in Z. And then we got back, we watched Broly, and I was like, well, all right, let me give this a shot.
Yeah, and it was a long road. It was a really long road because, first of all, for a while, you couldn't even find where Dragon Ball Z was streaming. Like Dragon Ball Z Kai, I think you had to legally download all of the episodes.
I did. And, well, other Josh.
Right. Yeah.
He owns, like, at least the first saga on DVD. So I watched those, and then, I had to perfectly legally watch the rest of the series. And I don't know what kind of I mentioned this in like the video we did, but like whatever jank version I downloaded, like the music sucked because there was 2 music loops the entire series.
Yeah,
the first one was kind of cool, that lasted up until Cell, and then from like what's after Cell, like the tournament.
Yeah, there's the first part of the Majin Buu saga arc is like focused on Gohan.
Yeah, when he's in high school.
Yeah.
From there on, there was like this country twiddle sounding thing, and it was just the worst.
Twiddle.
So I missed out on all that like Dragon Ball soundtrack.
Yeah,
which kind of sucks. But I also didn't watch Vanilla Z because it's 300 episodes and.
Yeah, and Vanilla Z, there's a lot of filler, and like the nice thing about Kai is that they trim a lot of the fat, and like most of these actors have been playing the characters for years. So even though Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat, like they as Goku and Vegeta respectively, they do a good job in Z, but you can definitely tell that their performances have changed a lot. Because, like, Vegeta in Vanilla Z, ooh, boy, he sounded, I wouldn't even say so different, but, like, it sounded like he was trying really, really hard to sound like Vegeta. I don't know. It's just, like, now Vegeta just comes so effortless. Like, it just sounds so much more like an actual person than, like, a character, you know, because before he would sound like this. Or I don't know if I'm doing it right, but now, like, Vegeta, when he talks, he's a little bit, you know, like this, and he, you know, he's not like doing as much of a character. He's just, you know, so like it's cool because Kai kind of like takes those performances from the original show and like those iconic lines and scenes and stuff and makes them, you know, better in most cases. But you know, along with that, like the music changes. So like in Vanilla Z, in the dub, there was a composer named Bruce Falconer who did the music, and the music was a lot more like rock oriented, and like there were a lot more guitars and heavy drums. And the Japanese soundtrack was vastly different. And so for Kai, I think the decision was made to like use the same soundtrack as the Japanese version instead of like remake the soundtrack, because one, that's a lot more money to have to pay someone to like make music and record and get studio time and blah blah blah. But yeah, and like some of the other performances, like from Z to Kai, they hired new people. Like they hired a new voice for Bulma. They hired a new voice for Gohan, like Kid Gohan. And like they're both great now, but like at first I remember watching the first episodes of Kai, and I was very confused because I was like, that's not Gohan. No, that's not Bulma. Like Bulma, they sound different. But that was when they were airing on one of the Nickelodeon channels. There was like not like a Nicktoons, but it was like, you know, X something. I don't know, but Kai is good. And
doesn't old Z have like the really old Frieza actor?
Yes, and Linda Young is her name. And she's still at Funimation, and she still does like voices every once in a while. But I think it got to a point where she had done the show and so many games and like all of this screaming. I think at a certain point she was like, yeah, I can't do that anymore. So they recast Frieza, and for a long time he was voiced by Chris Ayres, who, you know, rest in peace, Chris Ayres. Like, but he did such a good job as Frieza, and like he emulated the little quirks and performances of like the Japanese voice for Frieza so well. It was like the original voice actor in Japanese was just speaking English. It was like the laugh too, like the like that was so good. And then he came back in Super, and then in all of the games and stuff, I think he was voiced by someone else, someone who like could more regularly do it, because, you know, Chris was going through, you know, a lot of health issues and stuff, but you know, came back ultimately like for the Broly movie, and yeah, so great guy, great performance. But yeah, so I don't know. I like Kai. I'd have to go back and watch Z again, but again, I've played so many of the games that just retell the story. Like I played through Kakarot, and it's fine. But yeah, and then we got into Super, which, like, do you prefer Z to Super?
It's tough because some parts, yeah, like a lot of the World Tournament and like the Future Saga stuff.
Yeah.
But then, like, nothing even came close to like the Frieza Saga, you know?
Yeah, Frieza Saga and like the Saiyan Saga, like both of those together are probably one of my favorite anime arcs ever, because it's so well done. Because yeah, you find out that Goku is an alien and he has a brother, and then like more Saiyans show up, and then that directly leads to Planet Namek, because Vegeta's like, I'm gonna get Dragon Balls and kill this guy.
Yeah, I was really surprised because like when I first watched Kai, I was surprised to see that Saiyans were like enemy, like bad people.
Yeah, Saiyans show up, and then like you learn through like the Broly movie and like little bits of flashbacks here and there, like Saiyans were a warrior race that were pretty much just hired as like, you know, hired hitmen to like take over planets, and so like they're savage like in nature, and they're like aggressive people, or they're seen as aggressive people. And yeah, and then the Frieza Saga is just, you know, people make jokes about how like that Frieza versus Goku fight in universe it only lasts like 3 days, but it's like 100 episodes in real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think the Frieza saga is never going to get topped. And originally, I had read somewhere that Akira Toriyama, the author of Dragon Ball Z, he intended to end the show like after the Frieza saga. And then Shonen Jumper, his editors or whatever, were like, "Hey man, make more of this." And then he drafted up a draft for the Android saga, and then he had, I think, Dr. Gero be like the main bad guy in the Android saga, and then his editors were like, "Nope, he's too ugly. Make them more attractive. Like, make more attractive enemies." And then he created Android 17 and 18, and then same thing with the Buu saga. Like, he wanted it to be over by the time the Buu saga came around, and he set it up so that Gohan would be the main character. And then the editors were like, "People don't like this. Like, kids don't like this. Bring Goku back." So they bring Goku back in like what seems like kind of a forced way, because like they set up the first little bit of the Buu saga, and he's in high school and he's doing the Great Saiyaman thing, and then it completely takes a turn, and then it becomes a battle anime again, where like Vegeta shows up and Goku shows up, and Majin Vegeta, which is, there are really cool moments because of these decisions, but like as the show goes on, you can kind of tell that like the story was kind of supposed to wrap up a lot sooner. So things get wackier, and then Super happens. Yeah, there are some wacky parts in Super for sure.
Yeah, and then it just keeps going, keeps on trucking with this other stupid ass titled movie.
Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which I'm excited for because we're bringing Gohan back. The manga is still going, which is going to be turned into a show at some point. So it's like Dragon Ball as a franchise is going to get milked until the end of time, because it's such a recognizable property, and like people love the characters so much. And I think it's fair to say that we are among that population of people that's like, yeah, Dragon Ball's really cool, and it's a really cool games and movies and like music and all of these things that kind of like live with us. So I'm excited for Superhero. It's supposed to be in August when it gets released globally. So be sure to stay tuned for our review on that, because I'm sure we're going to have a lot to say.
Yeah.